Hey guys, so today we are going to make a DIY mason jar flower holder that can be used as like a wall ornament instead of a picture. So you will need a piece of wood. The length depends on the size of your mason jar that you will also need. Then you will need a doorknob or some sort of hanger that you can attach some twine to hang the mason jar, and then you will also need, of course, your flowers. The another option that you can do is put fairy lights in the bottom of the mason jar to have it light up and add a nice effect. So these are some pretty simple materials. Let's get started. So the first step is going to be to get your mason jar and measure it according to the piece of wood that you're going to use. Make sure that it's going to fit nicely. I'd say you want about 1 inch on the bottom, evenly spaced on the sides, and then however tall you want your flowers to come, then you will cut the board approximately that length. So I'm going to start from here. I'm going to cut the wood right there, and then I figure I have about 1 inch from the bottom to where I'm going to cut it, and then evenly spaced on each side, and then I think my flowers will come up to about here. Well, about here, and then I'll cut it up to there. So let's go cut. Okay, so we have our saw here, and we want to make sure that it's set at the right depth. So as you can see, our board is there and the blade will go through. You can always change that accordingly to the piece of wood that you are cutting. All right, let's cut it. So I decided to cut all 3 boards just because it'd be easier, and then if I want to do another project like this, the boards are already cut and off of the connected pieces. So now I'm going to choose my board, and I think I'm going to go with the center one. It has a little bit nicer finish, not as rough, and I like the color of it. Okay, so I just want to show you guys some different options. So as you can see, the first one on the left here, it's got a bit shorter of a jar and different piece of wood as well. The middle one, you obviously have a larger jar, and then it's a bit of a darker gray. And then the one on the right side, you can see that it's more of a brown color and then more of a circular jar. So there are lots of variations that you can do. Pick which one will fit the spot that you're putting this. Okay, so my board is right here and it is all set. The next step in this is to cut it to the height that I want. So I'm gonna cut it down to about here, I think, just right below that knot in the wood, so that there will be enough height for the flowers to go in it, and enough room to hang it. I'm just using one that's for a drawer or a cupboard, and then a screw, because you will end up putting it here, and then you will put some twine around the mason jar and then secure it to that so that it will hang nicely and be secure to the wood. Okay, so I'm ready to cut my piece of wood. I just wanted to make sure that I was cutting straight, so I lined it up with one of the edges, the straight edge, and then I made sure that it was straight along the bottom. So then I went ahead and flipped it, and I decided that approximately here was a good place to cut it so that there would be enough length for my flowers and the mason jar. And then I just went ahead, made sure that it was flat on this edge, and then it drew a line straight across there. So let's get cutting. The final piece of wood that I'm going to use, I'm going to go ahead and sand the edges off, because as you can see, they're a little bit rough. And then I'm also going to just take off a few of these pieces but still keep the rustic aspect of this pallet wood, and then I'll sand the top edges as well, and then this will be our final piece of wood. make sure you don't sand it down too much and take off some of the old barnwood finish if that's what you're using. As you can see, I didn't really sand the top because I wanted it to keep its old feel. However, I did sand down, these are the cutting edges, so I just sanded down the corners. Didn't want to round them, I wanted it to keep its feel, but just make sure that you don't sand it too much so that you don't take off the old finish. I wanted to measure where I wanted the knob to go, so I decided to measure from each side so that it would be directly in the center, and then how far down I wanted it on the front. I did it on the back. The other option is to just set up how you want it on the back and then just trace it like that, because it will be the exact same. So for the particular drawer knob that I decided to use, you have a screw obviously, and then it goes up behind. So first I'm going to need to drill a hole all the way through the wood before I can feed this through it. So measure a drill bit according to this, drill straight through it, and then screw it in.
So I've tipped it on its side.
As you saw in the previous clip, I drilled it in from the back side, drilled the hole. So then on this front side, I had some blowout there. So if you do this, I recommend you drilling from the side that you're going to display to the back side. This really won't matter that much, however, because with the one that I'm using, once I put it on the top, you really can't see it at all. That's the bottom side, so in my case it won't be an issue, but just make sure you drill from the top down when you're making your hole. From the previous clip, I thought that while I was screwing this in, I had to hold this one flat so that I would screw that into there. But turns out I was totally wrong. So just screw this all the way in if you have one like mine, and then screw this on after it is all the way through. So this is looking really great so far. That should be all that we need for tools. So I'm super happy with how this has turned out. The next step is to get your twine and wrap it around the mason jar a few times, and then go and wrap it around the top. You can add a nice bow or accent or play with it and add your own creativity to this aspect. Okay, so I was going to try and just make a circle out of the twine and then wrap it around the top of this a few times by twisting it, and then putting this up top and then adding a clip to this so that I could move it around depending on which side I want it to be the front, depending on the type of jar that I have. But instead I decided to just simply hot glue a small piece to here, the length that I wanted it to hang at. So as you can see here, it'll just hang super nicely there. So once I add the flowers, it'll be all complete. And okay, so as you can see here, we have the final product. I just found some old fake plants that we had lying around. Decided to put them in. These aren't the ones that I'm going to use, As you can see, the stem is very long. I would just cut those off and then place them in. I'm also going to put some fairy lights in the bottom to add a nice aspect to it. And then I will hang it on the wall. Now I can see that when it's standing straight up, there is a bit of a gap. So this can simply be fixed if you have a side that you definitely want at the front and you're not going to change that. You can just easily glue or secure the mason jar to the wood, and then that would make that totally flat. The other option is to just leave it. It would not change anything. I think it will still work fine. Once it's secured to the wall, I don't think it will ever move, and I don't think the balance will matter. So. Alright guys, this was a super simple, easy, and fun project to make. It only took me about 2 hours with all the appropriate tools. Like I said, I'm going to change the flowers and add some fairy lights to the bottom, but this is a super cool, easy project for a weekend. So hope you all enjoyed. Like and subscribe, and feel free to share.